state law expressly authorizes local health jurisdictions to adopt regulations to enforce that state law, and that's the basis upon which the Board of Health is considering this first set of regulations. The nature and scope of the Health Department's proposed regulations are nearly identical to the state law that already exists. So why are we doing it? The answer is because we are clarifying a few terms and making a few additional changes to make it easier to enforce the law. Specifically, the proposed regulations would clarify terms that are used in state law but are not defined by state law, such as the term employee, employer, and what it means to be open to the public. Second, the proposed regulations would provide for the department to recover enforcement costs and fees for inspection of facilities that are found to be in violation. And finally, the proposed regulations would direct enforcement actions to the department's hearing examiner rather than to Superior Court. Using the hearing examiner process is a faster and less expensive proposition for both the department and any employers that are found to be in violation of the local regulations. So that's the first set of regulations, called smoking in public places regulations. The second set of regulations, of course, relates to electronic cigarettes and unregulated nicotine delivery products. So at present, neither the federal government or the state government has any regulations relating to e-cigarettes. So that means the use, sale, and possession of e-cigarettes are not regulated. Manufacturing and product standards are not subject to regulation. Labeling, advertising, promotion of e-cigarettes are not regulated. Now, what we do know is that as a result of recent federal litigation, the Food and Drug Administration is beginning the process of regulating e-cigarettes in a fashion similar to tobacco products. But in the meantime, local health jurisdictions in Washington are starting to take action on their own. Last year, Seattle-King County Board of Health adopted regulations very similar in scope to what the Tacoma-Pierce County Board of Health is considering. And the Spokane Regional Health District last year adopted a resolution urging local cities to regulate e-cigarettes. Now, the proposed regulations would regulate the use, sale, and possession of e-cigarettes similar to the way tobacco cigarettes are regulated. For example, they would impose restrictions on the sale of e-cigarettes to minors. They would prohibit giving samples or coupons for e-cigarettes to any person. They would prohibit the smoking of e-cigarettes in public places and places of employment. And finally, they include enforcement provisions and re-inspection fees in the event a business owner fails to comply with the regulations. So that's a broad overview. I know there are copies of the regulations when you came in. The Board of Health will discuss both sets of regulations at its May 18th meeting, which is held at 3 o'clock in this room. But they are not scheduled to vote on the regulations until their meeting on June 1st. Both those meetings are open to the public. And next, I'll turn it over to Kirsten.
Thank you. I'd like to provide a perspective as to why the Health Department is proposing the regulations. Before I do that, I would like to share a little bit about the role and the responsibility of our Public Health Department. Our Public Health Department, like many others in the state and in the country, are responsible for safeguarding and enhancing the health of our population, of our residents here in Pierce County. And we do that through a variety of ways. One of the ways we do it is by reaching out to the individual person. We do that by providing education, by providing direct programs and services to help people be healthy. Another way that we do that is by using what we call a population-based approach, using preventative care and methods. We anticipate problems that may impact our population and have economic and health impacts to other people besides just one person. From that standpoint, we have to look at policies that we can adopt, develop and adopt here within the county to prevent or mitigate any health risks. An example of this would be increasing the taxes on tobacco products. We've found nationally that raising taxes on tobacco products decreases smoking rates. That's just one example of a measure that we use within public health to help protect the public. I'd like to speak a little bit to our rationale in moving forward with the two policies that Greg mentioned. The first is the SIP regulation, smoking in public places. There's many reasons why we're doing this. One of the reasons is we currently have the authority from the state law to enforce businesses that are non-compliant with the law, but we currently do not have a mechanism or a system to do that. By creating a regulation, what we are doing is we are clarifying the state law to make it meaningful for our health department and our county. So by clarifying definitions and by providing a mechanism for enforcement, we're expecting to help increase the compliance of our local businesses with this particular law. The second is the e-cigarette component, and we have some concerns about e-cigarettes in our county. Again, we are concerned about individuals, but we believe that individuals have a right to do whatever they choose. We would like to think that we are providing individuals with the education and the resources they need to make healthy choices, but we do not intend to regulate individual choices. Rather, where we're concerned about this piece of regulation is how it may affect the general public. We are concerned about prevention, and we work on prevention, and we try to look at all of the available data and make informed choices. Particularly, we're concerned about the rates of smoking increasing. In Pierce County and in Washington State, our smoking rates have gone down significantly. We're concerned with e-cigarettes and the fact that many of them look like real cigarettes, and the concerns that we have is that this may increase what we call social acceptability of regular cigarettes. We're also very concerned about the safety of e-cigarettes, and Dr. Festiel will talk to that point. And lastly, we are concerned about the effectiveness, and we understand that probably many of you in this room consider e-cigarettes to be an effective cessation aid, and it may have worked for you, in which we're very happy to hear that. We would like to have some more information and data available with regards to secondhand smoke of these e-cigarettes. We are concerned about the general public and whether they will suffer effects of the smoke from these e-cigarettes. Our position is that we need more information, more data, in order to protect the residents of Pierce County.
So good evening. My name is Dr. Festiel, and just before I begin with introduce where I'm coming from, I'm an internal medicine physician, and I'm completing a public health residency at Madigan Army Medical Center, and I'm over here is doing a rotation at the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department. So just as a disclaimer, I've been advised to say the following, so please my apologies. But just right up front, my views basically are not the government's views, they're my views only, and they're not the policy of the Army, Madigan, the Department of Defense, or the U.S. government. So I have that out of the way, so my views only. In many ways, from a medical perspective, this is a very difficult subject, and so I think from a smoking public places standpoint, it makes sense to ensure that secondhand smoke continues being avoided by others. From an e-cigarette standpoint, the medical side is very difficult. It's a very difficult piece that we're all aware. So why was I invited? And I think one of the main things that we can look at is what a study is. And we all know that e-cigarettes have been studied. Medically, they received medical studies in New Zealand, as well as here in the United States. However, those studies are really in their infancy. And in our opinion, in the opinion of the American Medical Association, as well as the American College of Physicians and the Pediatric Society, a lot more research has to be done. What is that research and why hasn't that been done? Well, I think it is being done. On clinicaltrials.gov, all clinical research has to be submitted to clinicaltrials.gov. There are at least 5 ongoing trials on the safety of e-cigarettes right now. I think at this moment, it's premature to state that e-cigarettes are currently safe for others as secondhand smoke right now. There's also concerns as well from the medical community as a physician that the quality control processes are not present. So at present, I'm not able to prescribe them to others, and I can't recommend them as a cessation tool. And they're often marketed as cessation aids. And as Kirsten mentioned, our hearts go out to everyone who has been affected in a good way with e-cigarettes, that they've lessened their use of tobacco smoke. However, from a medical side, I cannot recommend them as a cessation aid. They need multi-center, randomized clinical trials to really demonstrate effectiveness from that standpoint. From a medical standpoint, we also feel there are safer ways to quit. Now, I know what you're thinking. Those safer ways to quit don't work. And we know that. We know that at best, about 20% of people are going to be tobacco-free at 6 months. And so that 6 months is really the rate of that that time frame. We really want to see people be tobacco-free. And so, imagine you come home from 4th grade math class and, gosh, Dad, I got 20% on my test. Congratulations, son. 20% is not very good. But it's regulated. The nicotine delivery devices that are regulated by the FDA provide regulated amounts of nicotine in manners that have been studied appropriately. And so it's really the opinion of myself and the medical community, I think, that more studies need to be completed before we can really recommend these as cessation aids. And really it's certainly a concern to have to start a product in our younger generation. And so in summary, really, further trials of acceptability, addiction potential, as well as clinical safety really need to be done from a medical perspective.
Thank you to the panel. Before I call up the first folks from the sign-in sheet, I'm going to just go over the logistics of getting everybody up here to comment that wishes to comment. First, aside from taking the mic tonight, there's opportunities to comment online, materials provided at the front, and laptop set up. So I want people to keep those in mind as well as additional way to get yourself heard. We're asking that folks keep their time to 2 minutes so that we can give as many people an opportunity to comment this evening as possible. If there's still time at the end, you can come back around and we can give you another 2 minutes. To assist you so nobody's played off like they do at the Oscars, there's time for you all there, so you'll see that your time's running, and at that point, try and wind up your comments. Otherwise, no, I won't do that. Keep in mind the comments that have been made before you so we don't repeat the same comments over and over. That way we'll get as much original thought as possible into the record tonight. Just something to keep in mind. It's helpful if you mention what regulation you're speaking to. Looking from the sign-up sheet, it sounds like most are here regarding the e-cigarettes, but there are 2. Reminder, and you all look like a courteous bunch, to be polite with one another, not speak over one another, etc., so we can, again, hear as many people as possible. This is being recorded. Please identify yourself before you start to speak. And with that, I'm going to announce the first 5 commentators. If you all want to line up here, and then just as one person finishes, the next person can take the mic, and then at 5-person intervals, I'll call the next 5 commentators. I saw some people come in while the